This is going to get crazy, I can tell.
It will.
Because you girls been drinking.
That's the point.
That's the point.
It's called day drinking when it's like that. So,
Way
yeah.
more funner.
Way more funner. Okay, I started. We have to cut that.
Are you a smoker?
I am now.
I guess you are. I just heard it.
After about 3 glasses, I'm definitely
I just heard it.
Yeah.
Don't get me to do it.
That's hilarious. Do you snort too?
I do.
Oh, Lord.
Oh my God, when I
Lord.
get tickled, I will start, and it's bad.
Do I need a hazmat suit?
Maybe.
Could be.
It depends. How scared are you of bodily fluids?
I'm not scared.
Have you been vaccinated? Okay. All right, let me get myself focused. Whew. Okay. Hey, look, that was easy. I can't look at you. I started
Oh my
laughing.
God.
Okay, just
was
tell me
way too
whenever
easy.
you're ready.
Oh, we've been ready.
You getting that?
I've been rolling this whole time.
Hello and welcome to Music City, Nashville, Tennessee. This is Day Drinking Nashville with Kimber and
Amy. And today we have a special guest for you, Denny Jiosa. Yay!
Hey.
Applause, applause.
Thank you, thank you.
And we brought Denny in today because not only is Denny a great Nashville staple and an incredible jazz guitarist, but he also is an Italian wine expert. Right, Denny?
I like to think so sometimes.
Right, and so I met Denny because we had so many music connections, but one of the things that was most appealing was he came in here and started talking to me in Italian. Can you give a little of this to him?
All I said was some great names, Amy. Wow, John? It's that easy? Hey, Amy, Montepulciano di Abruzzo.
Oh, I mean, why complicate things? Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, it's the Nashville way. You know, a little kindness goes a long way.
absolutely.
But anyway, thanks for being here, Denny.
Oh, it's
And,
my pleasure.
I'm really excited because we've decided to feature Italian wines while you're here. And the very first thing that we do on our segment is we have Kimber explain one, introduce one. Lippman Brothers has been so kind as to pull one for us so that we can try it right here on our show. And so what have you got for us today?
Well, today we're going to be, the first one we're going to try is Alverdi Sangiovese, which I know you love that grape.
I love Sangiovese.
Are you growing a little Sangiovese?
I'm not, no, you can't really grow Sangiovese
I
here.
know,
But,
but I just know that you love it.
I thought we were just muscadine.
no, that's about all that's here in
all you
Tennessee.
can grow in Tennessee.
Right.
Or actually,
But I
think
do
Arkansas.
make, I do get my juice and grapes from Lodi.
Yes,
I'd like to get it from
absolutely.
Italy. We did one year, but, and I do make my own Sangiovese. Been doing it for 18 years.
Has it been that long?
Yes.
I didn't realize it'd been that long.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I've done everything from Barbera to Cabernet and Syrah, and then I kind of landed on Sangiovese.
Yes. Well, this is one of my favorite. I love Sangiovese. I think
Sangiovese.
it's so
So
beautiful.
tell us about this line because I've actually had this one at the bar. I love this line.
I mean, it's kind of a tribute. Sangiovese is kind of a tribute to the diversity, the wine growing region in Italy. This wine is very approachable. That I feel like it's very good and very approachable. Opici is actually our importer that we actually have for Alverdi, and they actually they seek out some of the largest and oldest producers in Italy, which I love because I know that they're wanting just some of the finest things that they can find. And so today we're trying 100% Sangiovese.
So I'm going to have to tell you that accidentally, just by chance, I have ended up choosing so many Opici wines, having no idea that they were the
Yes.
distributor or
Wow.
Absolutely.
the importer. And I probably I don't even know how many in the series of that they in their portfolio that we've brought in, but they have a really good selection. So that they're actually one of my favorite importers. So before we get really started, can we
Yes.
just give a little wine to maybe my trophy husband and production crew
We'd
and
love to.
our special guest, Rich Eckhart?
I would love to.
We want
That
to
would
bring
make
them
me
in on the
so
fun.
happy. We have to bring everybody in on the
Yeah.
fun. So let's drink away. Yes.
Why would we do that?
Why would we do that?
It's day drinking,
All right,
friends.
so give us a nice salutation here. Like what's a really good? How do you say cheers?
Ching ching.
Ching ching. I will do ching ching.
Ching ching.
Ching ching.
Salute.
A little different from
Salute. Salute. That's what I was going for. Oh, that's wonderful.
Say that in Hendersonville again.
Salute.
Oh, that's really good.
Y'all.
It has this really ripe plum, like a little bit of spice on it, but just this really, almost like I was trying to pick up on the nose, a violet kind of thing.
You'll get violets with this.
It has violets with a little hint of spice on it.
It's really tasty.
You know what I get out of it?
I like yours.
You know
How do
the,
you say that in Italian?
that's how the acidity is like not there. I mean, it's really smooth and no.
It has really light tannins on it. It's very
remember
balanced.
People saying, "Oh, I hate that bite at the end," and I knew what they meant. By
Right.
it. It's the acidity.
Yes. Right.
No acidity here. It's very
That's
smooth.
true because
very
that's
nice.
actually what deters me from a lot of wines that are fruit forward. Like people go fruit forward and I go, oh, what's that going to mean? Because always I'm looking for that acidic bite at the end. But you know what? You're right. This does not have it.
Well, you know, there are wines for food and wines for sipping,
Right.
and you want the acid when you're having red meat. And that
You
kind
do.
of-
It almost
so-
has like this little slight crisp to it at the end, like on the finish. I just drink again. And
So this is a perfect day drinking wine. You don't have to have the bite, the steak with the bite at the end.
You don't.
So this one is actually, it is aged, it's fermented stainless steel for 12 to 15 days, and then full mallow, and it's aged for 6 months. I guess somebody up above likes this wine too. So I hear
Of course, I just
thundering.
washed my car, so
Well, you know, it's Tennessee. I just wait 7 days and throw a sprayer on it before it rains. Just a little, you know.
They actually put this in a bottle for a month before it's released. So they don't release it just immediately. They let it sit
This
for
is
just
really
a little
nice.
bit.
so a little bowl of pasta with this, it would be great.
Which
A little red
pasta?
sauce.
'Cause I think
Just a you know spaghetti meatball kind of thing, you know.
just keep it
Simple
Keep it
marinara.
simple.
Yeah, I think with it aged a little bit for like 6 months, it does make it, I mean, just, it's so good.
It's
God,
very good.
It's very
What
good.
year is this?
This one is, oh, I'm my glasses on.
Here's Denny's.
Denny, should I borrow your glasses,
Is it on the
Denny?
front?
It should be 18.
18. It is 18.
18,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, Kimber, why don't you fill us up? Because we're going to start interviewing Denny. and
I would
ask him
love
some
to.
Uh
questions.
oh, here comes the time.
Here comes the
Reach
interrogation.
over you.
Honey, do you have any bright lights?
Wow.
Oh my gosh. All right, so I have heard you play guitar, and it was pretty outstanding. And I absolutely,
I'll drink to that. Thank you
yes,
so
I
much.
will drink to that too.
Yes.
And what I really like was that you represent Nashville in a way that is not country music, but is actually something that people don't really think of as Music City, but it's a big part of it, which is jazz.
Yes.
So tell me, I know that you had a really cool story I loved hearing from you about being out on Music Row and coming from LA. Can you kind of touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I can. So, you know, when I was a little bit younger, I moved to LA to study out there and stayed out there about almost 4 years, and it just wasn't for me. And felt led to come here. And everybody's like, "You're a jazz guy. Why are you going to Nashville?" Especially back in those days, there wasn't any jazz here really.
And so what was approximately, what was this time usually?
That was 87.
Okay.
87. And I was fortunate enough to roll into town and get a job because I also know studios. I produce, and I got a job at a recording studio managing on the 8th floor of the United Artists Tower. So I'm there, and now remember, I'm 8 floors up. There's another floor above, all these offices. So shortly after I was there, this guy moves in from Atlanta, Michael Morick, into the office next to me. And back in those days, okay, so we're having coffee, you know, in my studio. I didn't even tell him I played guitar. And he was a jazz radio promoter. What are the odds?
What are the
That
odds?
is pretty
I know,
strange
that's
in
what I was gonna
Nashville
say.
in the
So-
80s.
Yes.
So, this is going to age me just a little, Rich. You can relate. I gave him a cassette of 2 or 3 of my songs, right? But I didn't tell him it was me. And so he took the tape and he listened to it. And he comes just rocking into my office to my desk. He goes, "Who is this?" I said, "Well, it's me." He goes, "Oh, it is not. Who is this, really?" I said, "No, it's me." He says, "You play?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Get me one more song like this, I'll get you a deal."
Wow.
So I gave him a couple more songs, and 3 months later we had 2 record deals out of New York on the table. So I come from LA, which I grew up in Indiana, but I was in LA, to Nashville in like 80, that was 88 or something, 89 when I got the deal. And I get a record deal in New York.
That's amazing.
From Nashville.
For 5 albums. How crazy is that?
And so that building that you're talking about, where was that building?
The United Arts Tower was right down in the middle of Music Row.
Right,
They
yeah.
have recently torn it down, and now it's going to be, new condos and what you said, the small town that has turned into the city now.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
And also back in the days when you could turn in a cassette and not get arrested for walking in the building with a cassette.
Right. Yes. No, that's true.
That's true.
That is very true. Yes.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, my mom was a songwriter. She talks about throwing her cassette in the baskets over at ASCAP. I mean, she ended up working, was an on-staff writer for ASCAP. But
Wow.
she said that, you can't go in there now. You can't even walk through the building.
No. And of
Walk
course,
to the reception desk.
probably most of those cassettes ended up out back in the square filing cabinet, but you know what I'm saying.
I do. The big one.
Yeah, but it was an amazing journey. I couldn't believe it. If to me, it's a God thing. I just couldn't believe it. And 6 months later, I had a top 10 record.
That's insane.
That is
You know.
insane. That is so amazing.
It is.
It is.
And so, what was it like being in the jazz world in Nashville, Tennessee?
Well, it actually worked in my favor, believe it or not, because I became like the guy that produced that stuff. So I'd get all kinds of phone calls from other people wanting to do the same thing.
Right.
And so I ended up producing a lot of artists and playing on a lot of records and things. So it worked in my favor. It was kind of weird,
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that when I talk about this a lot because it was just such an interesting experience being a talent buyer, especially in Lebanon, Tennessee. And my very first thing that I thought they would ask me, when I'm bringing in talent, I'm going, okay, Lebanon, Tennessee, you look at your demographic. I'm thinking country, I'm thinking gospel, all the things that I'm thinking of. And the owner goes, you know what I'd like? I want a jazz series. And I thought, death to me.
Too bad I didn't know you then.
Career that I've ever experienced. Like, this will be the shortest career of my life. But honestly,
That's one of the things I remember you always talking about. They wanted jazz.
they
I'm like,
wanted
what?
jazz. And it ended up being a hugely successful series.
Yeah.
Hugely. And I was surprised because I had to inundate myself in that world that I did not know.
Well, MCA did the Master Series. I don't know if you remember,
Yes.
Tony Brown started that and brought in Chet Atkins, Larry Carlton.
Yes.
And,
And Larry came to one of our
Did he?
concerts. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so several, and that was a highly successful series,
Yeah. That is so cool. But
Isn't it
I would
crazy?
imagine, no one thinks of it. I mean, it is Music City, and that's one of the things that we love about this town is it's not just country music. We're known for that primarily, but really and truly it's Music City. We have representation from every genre.
We do.
Michael Jackson cut here, I came here. Did you know that?
I did not.
Michael
did not
Jackson
know
came here and
that.
did some recording.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of people sneak in and sneak out, but this is really the recording capital of the world. Rich, would you not agree? I mean, the best studios, engineers are here, and no offense to anybody, but they really are.
Yeah.
It's just great.
And
Great
John
place.
played for Donna Summer. Donna lived here.
Donna Summer,
I mean, the disco queen. Come on.
disco queen.
Who would think of Nashville for that? But sure enough. And then, so once you evolved from that, you started getting this career going. And then, what are the other projects that you've been doing since then?
Well, I've been somewhat criticized for jumping around too much and not staying focused, because I got a little bored with I kind of ended up, when my records first came out, it was called New Adult Contemporary, NAC. And so NAC radio, they would play like everything off the record just about, and one cut might rise up on the chart, but they would just always like, oh, we love cut number 7. That wasn't the hit. That wasn't the single. Well, then smooth jazz came into
That's
play.
me. That's what I like.
Smooth jazz. And so,
I like the smooth jazz.
so that it ended up with that title, And that's fine, you know, I get it. But then it became singles driven, and it just kind of changed everything, you know. And the major labels got involved because they smelled money. So, you know, they got involved, and it sort of changed things. And I got a little restless with that because I was kind of a rebel in smooth jazz anyway. I was like, if you played above the 12th fret, Rich, you got in trouble. They didn't want to hear those high notes. It was rock and roll then, you know, so it was too rocky. It would distract somebody. So you had to be careful. And I got a little restless, shall we say. So I did a record called On the Edge, which was just a chance to cut loose, you know, and I just played a lot of notes and turned up the volume. And did that as a trio, like a rock trio. And then I did a Latin record a couple of years ago, and that did well for me.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, tell us some of the people that were on your record, because I think we know one of them very well.
Well, I've been so blessed. I got a great story. Can I tell you a great story about? So I'm going to drop a name here, which I don't do often, but my friend Chester Thompson, who wasn't a friend at the time, ended up playing on my first record. Well, Chester is the drummer for Genesis and Frank Zappa and Santana, and you know, and so I didn't think I could get Chester Thompson on my record. He did it, and then I'll never forget this, man. The first session we did, and he's taking his cymbals off. I can still see him. Chester moves kind of slow because he's just so cool, you know. And he's going, "Yeah, man, if you ever decide to play out live, I'd love to play with you." And I went, "What?" And so,
YES.
yes, needless to say, Chester did quite a few shows with me, and that was, and we're still buddies. I just saw him at the NAMM show.
So in your experiences, like, okay, so on some of your records, tell us who's playing on these. I mean, I know that we have a special connection that's our 1 degree of separation, like Rich and I just talked about, Ms. Glenn Karuba.
Who?
You know, the guy that works for Pearl.
Glenn is my brother.
You know that guy.
He's my brother from another mother. I love Glenn. Glenn's first gig with me was on a cruise ship, right? And at that time, my son was 6 months old.
Oh, my goodness.
And so Nicholas went on the cruise with us. And so Nick became more famous on the ship than any of us, any of the musicians. Everybody was asking. I was there with the Rippingtons and Kirk Whalum and a bunch of folks, you know. But everybody's like, "How's Nick today? How's Nick doing?" And it's like, "Let's see Nick," you know. So he has no idea, you know.
He was
I need to tell him
famous
that
on the
story.
ship.
He was famous on the ship. But Glenn played that show with me, and we've never stopped. I mean, he's a wonderful friend.
Yeah,
you know, good
he's
friend.
really a
And
Nashville
great
staple
player.
too.
He is a staple. That dude has played with everybody.
Yeah.
You know?
He has. And one of the things that he did for us at Wine Down Nashville was not only did he employ my husband, thank you very much, but he also made us a pearl dealer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he came in here and he was the first person that made a cajon sound amazing.
Yes.
Well, if anybody can do it, Mr. Karuba can.
Well, he
I mean,
did.
he's
I was a little in shock.
he's something
Makes me want to
else.
learn how to play one.
I mean,
You
anybody
should.
can play.
No.
That guy made. I've
get one for your
never
daughter.
heard something,
Yes.
an instrument like that sound that amazing.
He's something else.
He really is. So that's a cool person to have on.
So enough about him. Let's talk about me.
Yeah, you're like a lead singer. I need a little more me.
I am going to ask this question though. So, in being in the music that you have and that you're doing and everything that you have done, do you have a favorite album, or do you have a favorite time of your career that you've enjoyed the most?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have two favorite albums. Can I have two?
Sure.
The first one is Inner Voices, which was my second record, and I had a top 5 off of that. And that record, I had such great players on that record. Chester Thompson, Pat Coyle on keyboards, Eric Darkin, Chris Kent on bass, God rest his soul. Chris was a dear friend of mine and wonderful musician, and no longer with us, unfortunately. But I was just blessed, you know, and Holly Ferris from James Brown Band and Steve Winwood. So, I mean, it's just really been like a dream come true, you know, playing with these guys. And hearing, it's amazing when you write a song and you play them the demo and then they go in and they cut it, and that's where the magic happens. You know, you hear, oh, wow.
Were you guys all live in the room together when you did that?
Yes.
I mean, that is something that you can't take away that is really so Nashville. I mean, I know they do these kinds of things in different places, but that is something that Nashville a lot of times has maintained that integrity of all being in the same room, and I really like that.
Now it's like, let me send you the file and you can add your part.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and speaking of that, can I talk about this? Oh, the second favorite record.
Yes,
I'm sorry. Is my Latin record.
Yes.
I always wanted to do that record.
Love
you know,
it.
And
Love it.
it's called Nueva Tu Cuerpo, and it's available on my website, Diosa.com. So,
$9.99.
that record, we cut that record live too. Except I did overdub horns, but because I don't have the room in my studio to do that. But yeah, great players on that too. Raymond Massey on drums, Glenn Karuba, Keith Kenyon on bass, and Kenny Zerger on keyboard. Just great musicians.
Everybody's Googling right now. Your fingers probably hurt.
I'm just been really blessed in this career. But I have a new record coming out in August.
I'm
excited.
It's a new trio called the JVMcollective.com. And
that must mean
thank you, Lord.
it's spectacular.
We signed a deal. The first label we went to, Jimmy Haslip from the Yellow Jackets is involved, and several other pretty big artists are on called Blue Canoe Records. And so we got the deal there, and it's coming out August 27th. So we're really excited about that.
I'm pretty sure they will be here at Wine Down Nashville.
We will do a listening party here. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Let's do that. Salute. Okay. So that I'm excited about that. That's a great record, and we did cut Trio live in my studio. Everything. We wrote the tune, and we took like 3 takes of it after we wrote the tune, and went, okay, let's move on.
I love it.
And wrote the next tune. So
Isn't that great?
I love it too, because everything, you know, like people have done remote sessions for a long time, so that's not a new thing. And then in COVID, that was kind of like the lifeline, because you know, during COVID, you had to do remote sessions to stay alive.
Right.
Yes.
But now that things are starting to get back to normal, just to know that everybody's getting back on the scene in the same room, there's just a different magic doing that.
Yeah, there is, and you know, the guys in it's Roy Vogt on bass. You know Roy, and Roy and I have been talking about doing a project for 20 years together.
Oh,
right?
really?
Yeah, and then this drummer named Tom Moeller, who is actually a heavy metal drummer.
Love it.
But he's playing like a world kit with cajon and djembes and timbales or not timbales, congas. And all his cymbals and stuff and toys are appearing. He's got a gong, and so it's all this. It's like world jazz, and it's really cool stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So
Cannot wait.
I know.
very
I
proud,
can't wait to
very
hear
proud of
that.
the record.
Cannot
Very proud of
wait.
the record.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah, excited.
Before we get to phase 2 of the interview, Kimber has one more wine for all of us that she wants to feature. And again, this is one that actually Denny brought in here to Wine Down Nashville, and I love it. And it was a big seller, and we're going to bring it back. And then we're going to talk about why we brought it in for Denny, but we did an Italian wine pairing night. We've actually done 2 of those here, and we'll probably do another one. But I want to go ahead and let Kimber talk about this wine.
It is. This is like, I love this wine. Known this wine for quite some time. This is a Valpolicella Classico, Superiore, D.O.C, Ripasso. Have to throw all that in there. Jeez. Actually, Recchia is actually an estate in Valpolicella.
Okay, so just to make all of that, let's like decode that. Let's bring that down to English. So how would you describe this wine?
Well, it's full-bodied.
Yes.
And a lot of dark fruit.
Okay.
Yes.
And it has 3 grapes in it. Do you want to tell them about that, or you want me to?
You know what? Corvina, which is the main
Corvina.
one. Go ahead.
And Corvina is a great single varietal.
It
too.
is,
So
yes.
it's fantastic. And then Molinara. And what's the other one? Rondinella. Rondinella.
Okay, here comes
Oh,
the
here come the
production
crew.
Here comes
Yes.
the trophy man. Here they come.
Trophy man.
All right, cheers everybody.
Salute. Ching ching. Right?
Salute.
Yes.
You smell the raisin on that?
Absolutely.
Oh,
That's a way more mature. That's like a more mature fruit than.
Much
Muraie.
fuller body.
Right.
And so this is made Ripasso. Do you want to tell them about it? You want me to
Go ahead,
shoot
honey.
my mouth off?
Go ahead. You know this as much as I do.
Okay, so Recchia is imported by a good friend of mine, Eros Spinozzi. We love Eros Spinozzi. Hi, Eros. Ciao.
Hi, Eros.
Okay,
So-
Eros, we love your wines here too.
Eros brings in some amazing wines.
Yes.
And a great value, too.
Yes.
And Italian wines, as you know, I'm very partial to.
I know. That's why
For
we
lots
brought
of
them in.
reasons. They're pure.
They're sexy.
You should tell them about the D.O.C stuff and D.O.C.G. Or you want me to
Go ahead.
shoot my mouth
Go
off?
ahead,
Well,
honey.
people do see that and they ask me.
They
and,
do.
And
People
that
always
is a big
ask.
deal
It's a
because
DOC,
Okay.
a
that's what you're
DOCG,
looking
right?
for
Because
on
you're
the
looking
menu.
for this on the label.
So it's a controlled thing. In Italy, you're not allowed to add any additives to their wines, right? So it's got to be all pure. And if they're caught doing that, they're done, right? So every bottle that you see this tag on with DOC or DOCG is guaranteed and has a individual serial number on the bottle, right? So if you look at it, every bottle's got a different number. And that shows that it's certified and that it's pure Italian and it's controlled.
What
right?
is CO?
Denominazione Originale Controllata.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, because people do. I mean, I guess.
Garantia is the G, right?
Oh, okay.
So that's the next level
Level
up.
up.
So they have different levels for depending on where the vineyard is and the quality of the wine.
Gotcha.
Right?
All right,
So-
Kimber, you're going to have to fill us up because we have the last part of our interview, and this stuff is delicious.
This is amazing
I'm gonna
wine.
reach over.
Okay, that
And
is
it's
amazing.
very reasonably priced, and
It is.
Italian wines are so much healthier for you. I'm not gonna go where I'd like to go, but I
You
won't go
actually
there.
can go there because one of
I
the
can?
things, yes. So one of the reasons I wanted to make sure that you got on this podcast was because not only are you an incredible jazz guitarist, but the other reason that I really wanted you on this podcast is because you have such extensive knowledge of Italian wines. And one of the things that impressed me was that you truly have not only had the knowledge, but you have made it your purpose. So you've become friends with all the winemakers. And, talk to me about that, because this is the thing that I think is just such a neat, who doesn't love music and wine? All right, so tell me about how did you become friends with all these guys and how it's changed your life? What do you know?
I'm a little disappointed. I thought it was because
I'm
of
gonna drink.
my good looks and charm, but no, she wants me on here for my knowledge. How boring is it? No,
Well, that's what
Don't make me snort.
I'm her knowledge girl, and it's like going, okay, so this is what this wine is about.
I like guys with brains. Don't tell my husband.
What was the question? Snoopy.
Yeah. So tell me about what made it.
Why
your
did I get
mission?
into the mission?
Yes.
The mission was
Wine and music.
Why did we?
okay. Well,
Well,
I grew up Italian, and Giosa is really how you pronounce my last name.
So we have it all wrong.
Gioiosa.
And you never even corrected us.
It's okay. I've heard everything.
I always remember the G when
You know-
instead of J.
Diosa.
It's how I
You
remember
know-
it. Yeah.
J doesn't exist in the Italian alphabet. But
Oh.
when I lived in California, I heard him speaking of acting, which is cool, but I did a lot of that out in LA, and they thought it was Diosa.
Oh.
So I would show up and there'd be a lot of Hispanic actors there, and they're like, what the heck are you doing here? Se habla español? No. But I had fun anyway and got paid. So I just love these wines.
And so the correct pronunciation of your name is
Giosa,
Giosa.
and it means joy in Italian. How cool is that, right?
That is very
It
good.
is.
But like a lot of Italian names, it got changed,
Right.
and they put a J on it. Who knows why? But it's
I found that a lot, though, whenever I'm looking up certain things where pronunciations get changed along the way.
Yeah,
And
sure
it's
they
like,
do.
Oh, interesting.
A lot of names got changed. So
My family name would have been Schmitz.
Schmitz?
And yes, they came from Germany, and I'm German descent, but actually they came over in Ellis Island, like a lot of
Yeah,
other
mine too,
families.
mine too.
And they changed it to Smith so they wouldn't be discriminated against when they needed to get a job.
That's what I'm talking about. So that happened, you know.
Wow.
We're not quite sure where ours happened because I just don't know. I don't know. But because it's Giosa on my dad's birth certificate, not Gioios.
Ah.
So it's just
changed.
it's just been changed. Like, you know, I should change my name to Smith.
Smith, that's a nice neutral.
It'd just be easier.
Right, nice and neutral. Right.
But my love for these wines, I just grew up. We'd go to Chicago. My great aunt Rosie'd be making, the ravioli for me and everything. She just loved me, pat me on the head. Oh, Denny, she was something. But there'd always be like all this food and wine and stuff. And I really didn't get into wine till I was older, of course. But when I started tasting Italian wines and the fascination of how many grape varietals.
Oh, there's so many.
There's over 1,000 varietals in
There is.
Italy alone.
That's
Think about that
Yeah.
for a moment.
That is a lot.
And some are just blending grapes, and some are blending and they are doing whole varietals now, like
Right.
Corvina.
Corvina, and that's a lot of times whenever I'm like looking at certain varietals in Italian wines, I'm like, oh, like, I mean, you think you know a lot about wines until you start researching even more, and you're like, I have a lot to learn for years to
Yes,
come.
we all have a lot to
and I
learn.
could still learn and still
Still-
learn and still learn. There's
Right.
so many things.
Kimber, you'll talk to the winemakers over there, and they'll go, it's impossible.
It is.
You don't even want to try to tackle that. You just have to search out, like Aglianico, Sagrantino. Those are grapes that I absolutely love. That most people are like,
Sagrantino's
what are
beautiful.
those? It's incredible
Incredible
wines,
wines.
right? And there's a lot of beautiful whites too that you've never heard of. People think there's Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Grigio.
Grigio.
No. Let's try Vermentino
Oh, yes. Love
and
it.
Grillo and Cortese and all these different wines that are grapes that are just
And Vermentino is
Beautiful.
one of my most favorite things to
We
drink.
need to
Beautiful.
bring some of those in.
Beautiful.
That's actually something I haven't carried in the bar before. And we love that because people that come in here know that we want to give them exposure. Non-pretentious exposure. We want, if you're a wine lover, come to Wine Down Nashville. We're going to give you something that you've never tried before.
Right.
And Denny brought things to me that I'd never even heard of.
Right. Yes.
So,
yes.
thank
well,
you.
you're welcome. When
You know, Denny actually was the one who actually introduced me to Italian wines. We're going back a
we're back
ways.
a ways.
Keep going
When you
back,
started
back,
at
and back.
Littman.
I know, it was
Before you
I
started at
It was
Littman.
way before I
Yeah.
started Littman. I was in dentistry at the time, and I loved wines. I loved Italian wines. And I would go into the store that he was working at, and I go in and I go, what you got? Like, what do you have? Like, show me something. And he'd always be showing wines. That's why I would come in on Friday nights. So you'd have Friday night tastings or Saturday night tastings. I would come in. I would want to see what he had. I want to know, tell me about the varietal, tell me about the grape. I would learn just what I didn't even know at that time about wines from Italy. And so this guy right here was the reason why I
Thank
fell
you.
in love with Italian wine.
Thank you.
So,
I actually curated that entire Italian section at Red. That was
I
my
know
whole
you
purpose
did.
of being there,
He
was
did.
education.
So Red, for people that don't know what Red is a
Very large, wonderful store out on the west side of town in Bellevue. And
Red.
and I just worked part-time there just so I could meet Ero Spinozzi and Massimo Ponte and all these great winemakers that I wanted to meet and get the knowledge and the connections. And that's why I was there.
That's
So-
great. That's a
and
great way to do
Ornace,
it.
of course, I love.
Oh, yeah.
That's like
Oh,
one
yeah.
of my favorite wines.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Massimo's got some great wines. So, we could go on and on
We
about some of the
could.
makers that
We
I've
could
met
from some
there.
of
They're
the-
just beautiful
They're
winemakers.
just absolutely they're beautiful winemakers, and they make some of the most fabulous wines you've ever tasted. So yes, we have lots of things to still share with you.
I love
And
this.
I can't stress enough that they don't add anything to it. It's pure wine.
Right.
It's just the winemaking technique without adding flavored yeast or wood chips or mega purple or things to it.
So does
and
that
that's
mean
as
I
far
can
as I'll
drink
go with
more?
that. But well, I guarantee you, if you drink Italian
Let's
wines.
cut down to the bottom line.
Okay, let's cut to the bottom line. So let's cut to the chase.
The change.
So The thing
Drink
is,
the wine, Amy. Drink the wine.
if you're drinking Italian wine, listen, for your viewers that say, "Oh, I get headaches all the time. I can't drink red wine." Try Italian wines. But the problem with the headaches is the additives, and you don't realize you're getting them. So try Italian wines. You won't wake up with a headache.
Okay, I'm gonna
You can
put
get
this
as
theory to the
saucy as you want to and snort
I'm
as
not
much as you want.
driving.
Saucy. She'll get saucy tonight.
Because I'm not driving.
Well,
Oh,
this
man.
wine is beautiful.
Isn't
it
it
does
great?
spend 24 months in oak, which is fantastic.
You know what? This
and
actually
3
is
months
a
in bottle.
super well balanced
For their
wine. And
release.
both of these wines have something in common. They're both really fruit forward, but they do not have that acidic bite at the end. Both of them.
And let's note that when people, you have to know that people say, "Oh, it's fruity, it's sweet." No, it's not.
No.
You want to taste the fruit of, and vines pick up what's in the terroir.
Right.
So if you're tasting violets, that's or roses in Italian wines, that's because they're growing somewhere in the area.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You know, many other things. All that stuff comes from the terroir.
It does, and like even with when you go to the next step up, I guess you get more of that. You do get that ripe plum, but you almost get like an espresso bean. Do you not get that on the
Yeah.
nose?
I do.
Like
This
a
one
little
actually is a
espresso
little.
bean.
Actually, it's a lot. It's a bolder wine.
It is. Yes.
But it doesn't have, like you say, it just doesn't have the extra bite at the end that a lot of bold wines do. And I'm a fan of bold wine.
You know,
it's
these-
so
the-
good with meats, like red
Oh,
meats.
it's great.
Oh, just like red meats. I mean, cheeses. I'm just thinking of
And
all the
pasta.
things. Pastas.
I mean, you know,
there's so
it's
many
just
things that it
great.
could go with.
Or just a sip like this. This is a great
Yeah,
sipping
it
wine.
really
Very
is.
elegant.
It stands on its own.
Very elegant.
This wine is under $20, right? Retail. Under $20, and it's really the king is Amarone, right? This is where these grapes come from, is Amarone.
Yeah, I call it baby Amarone.
Baby Amarone. And by the way, the Recchia Amarone is like $40. Most Amarones cost you double that and up.
That
and
is
it's
true.
superb.
It is superb.
It's a beautiful wine.
It's beautiful.
Let it open an hour and you're going to be in heaven with that
Yeah.
wine.
Yeah, that's another thing too. People underestimate the power of opening up the wine. So talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, you always want to open, especially red wine.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to do it with a white wine, but a red wine, you definitely want to do that. That's why I did open it about 45 minutes before we actually started drinking it.
Right.
Sometimes you can decant, which you probably want to do for about 30 minutes at least before you actually serve the wine, just because it's going to open up all the flavors. You get the boldness. You're going to get so much more if you just, instead of just popping open a cork and pouring
Right.
it, you're going to get so much more from it. So when you drink your red wines, especially ones from Italy or anywhere else, you want to decant those for about 30 minutes. I promise you, you will get a great experience from it. It's going to be so much better. You're going to get more flavors from it, and it makes it so much better.
Right. So when you open it up, the very first thing you get is alcohol, right? And so the first thing when you pop the cork, so this actually lets you get past the alcohol a little bit and explores other.
It burns
it's
it
tight.
off.
It's like
Yeah.
tight as a tick.
Yeah.
In Nashville speak.
Tight as a
Tight as a tick.
Tight as a tick.
There's a Nashville saying for you folks on the West Coast.
Yes, so
all
tight.
our friends in Italy.
So tight as a tick. You know, whenever you get a tick that's like on your skin, it's
Oh
super
my
tight.
God.
And you know, it's like, and you can't like pull it off. You can't do anything with it. It's kind of like when you're drinking wine. It's tight as a tick. You open it up, you let it breathe for a moment, where you can actually taste it. We just talked about this earlier. When you have a tick on you in Nashville, what
Yeah.
happens? Like what happens?
It just gets
Seriously.
It hurts.
and bigger.
It gets
and
bigger.
and
It's
They
a
get
hound
fat.
It's a hound dog tick.
Yeah.
That's hound
Okay,
dog tick.
so on to the wine.
Doing this.
It's a hound dog tick.
Yeah, there's a reason. It's not just because we're showing off.
You know, and speaking of
We're
that,
aerating.
white wines, they
Yes.
should know this because we're not having a white today, but white wines can actually be served too cold.
It can.
You serve them too cold,
Yes.
it stifles the flavors.
It does.
Right? And as it warms up, you're going to see that wine open. You're going to smell all those
Yes.
aromatics and those floral flavors and the fruit, the peach and everything. It's
That's why I
beautiful,
never
you know?
put Pinot Grigio. I never put it in the fridge to chill it. I might put it on a little ice, just for a little bit, 20, 30 minutes
Yep.
to give it a little chill. because when you do taste it, you get the floral, you get the beautiful, you get so many notes that you never get if it's too cold. If it's too cold and I pour it in your glass, you're like, you just don't get it. You
That's
don't get
right.
that experience.
Wine is alive, and it changes as it sits in your
Absolutely.
glass. So,
It
so you
does.
see me
That's why
spinning
you
it
sit-
like this.
yep.
That's to bring air into it, so that
Right.
it brings the flavors up.
Yes.
Burns the alcohol.
Just like
up.
fresh grass in Nashville. Yeah,
Fresh
aerated.
grass.
Oh, even though I'm allergic to that, I would still love the smell
So
of
we're
it.
talking ticks and grass now, folks.
Trees and grass and wine.
And wine.
All comes from the earth. So the very last thing I absolutely...
The crew now. The grip brought the.
This is
Right,
so
so-
amazing. I'm just so excited.
I'm going to have to tell you, from a girl's perspective, that is gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. It's
I mean,
Thank you.
the
gorgeous.
inlay on the guitar.
I know.
It is beautiful.
I love this.
That's. Are we rolling?
We are rolling.
So this is all abalone,
That is
right?
incredible.
And the wood is a Bolivian rosewood, and it's a solid top and back. It's not laminated. Yeah, look at that.
It's beautiful.
Split back. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
And
All
talk about
handmade.
this too,
I know,
because
that's what I would keep
So
looking
this
at.
contour, it was put there so that the guitar, when you're sitting here playing, it's not cutting into your arm, so it's comfortable, right? So you got.
So beautiful.
And the reverb is actually built into the guitar.
You can hear it there.
You
That
can
is
hear it.
insane.
You hear it. You hear it. It's so beautiful.
And then you can go to it's got delay in it.
Oh, like the echo in the
Should we
valley.
throw our bras at you now? Or
Oh, please! John, you
isn't
need
that
to
why you
leave.
become a guitar player?
That'll get cut on the edit. That'll be on the floor, I guarantee it.
Why do guys become guitar players?
It's so beautiful, and to hear that, so to hear the echo of that
Yes.
is so beautiful, because it's almost like when you're in a canyon and you can hear the echo of something. That's what it reminds me of.
That's
is
really
that-
spiritual. I wouldn't even go in
That's
there.
the wine talking. So, so it is just a gorgeous guitar. It's made by Willow Creek Guitars, and
Have you ever seen Puss in Boots?
Yes.
That's why he got all the women.
It's beautiful.
so there it is, Willow Creek.
Beautiful.
And we're going to do a big feature here on this, aren't we?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
absolutely we are.
It also has a microphone built in. I should let people know, but
We
I don't
absolutely
want to
are.
turn into a guitar.
And
player.
if you can't hear it like sitting right here where we're at, I'm sure you can hear it on the video, but like there's so much going on that
Yeah.
it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, it may not translate to this camera or the sound. I don't know if it will
It'll
or
be
not.
fine.
I'm hoping.
It'll be fine,
But that
yeah.
is an insane sound. I mean, usually you have to
Thank
have a
you.
pedal, or you
Yeah.
know, you have to run it through the main or something
Right.
like that. The guys have to
Add
make that happen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. But this one, you know, you can play it either way without,
Yep.
or you can turn it on here and add it, and like it has a condenser microphone built in
Yeah.
it too.
You
so
don't even
when
have
you,
your sound man
No,
to
no,
add
no,
this.
no. So,
right.
yeah.
This is like on its, this is on.
I've
I've never heard
anything
that.
like
I've never heard that. That's exciting.
it's really
That's
cool.
sexy.
It's beautiful and sexy.
And it plays
is.
great. And Rich even loved it.
And Rich even loved it.
And you played it. It's amazing. I mean, to hear you
Wow.
even play it, I'm like, oh my
And
gosh.
it's really beautiful. The wood is
Yeah,
beautiful.
thank you.
Everything about
Thank
the
you.
guitar is beautiful.
I'm quite
I've not
proud
heard
of
of this company, but I'm really excited.
They're
to
a brand new
feature
company, and they approached me about doing this, and so you know, quite an honor to have a signature guitar. I mean,
Absolutely. Show John to the camera. Show John
Oh,
your actual
yes.
signature on
you-
the guitar.
Like,
Can you see it?
Can you go look?
Can you bring it down a little bit? There you go.
Bring it
I
down.
can. Hang on. How's that?
There you go, right there, yeah.
And if you've ever heard Denny play, this really is his sound.
It is. It really is.
Well,
love
thank
it.
you.
And it's so beautiful to hear it play. I mean, I've listened, I mean, even in the car when I have it on and listen to it, it's just like, it's like such a good vibe to listen to when I'm going from place to place every day. And I've listened to his music many times, and it's just very refreshing and it's such enjoyment to listen to.
Thank you so much,
And so
Kimber.
I always enjoy just hearing you play. And so, yeah, I'm super excited
Thank
for you
you,
to
honey.
the new one coming out.
Yeah, I'm glad for you to be on a new record label, have a new signature guitar.
It's just-
You have all these awesome things happening, and in addition to that, you have this great knowledge of wine.
Thank you.
Oh, look.
And
That's his.
I get to sit here between two beautiful women and drink wine. How hard with a guitar in my hands? It's like it doesn't get any freaking better than this, right?
Salute.
Life is good.
Oh man, this has been so fun, Denny. Okay, so
Yes.
thank
Thank
you for
you.
coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to hear your new record.
I am too. I'm super
We're
excited.
going to do something here. I'll get
Yeah,
it
we
set up,
absolutely
okay?
will. Because Wine Down and Nash Vegas Entertainment Group, not only do we do wines, but we also do music. So we're going to do this new guitar line. We're going to have Denny's signature guitar here. And of course, we always do pearl. We're pearl dealers as well. So we're going to showcase some of the best instruments in town.
Yes, absolutely.
This is a great place. This is a wonderful place.
Thank you.
You know what I think it is? This is new Nashville.
This is old Nashville.
It's old Nashville, but it's new Nashville.
With a new twist.
With a new
right?
twist.
All right.
Cheers.
We'll have
Cheers.
musicians
Salute.
You know why that is? Because you have the values of old Nashville from the way it should be,
Yeah.
and you have the twist of new Nashville.
Yeah. Which means we know it's good.
You just took the words out of my mouth.
We know it's good.
That's right.
You know exactly what's fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's exactly why it's fabulous here.
Awesome.
So Wine Down Nashville, if you come visit, come here.